Okay, so today we're diving into the world of, well, the Philippines.
Sounds exotic.
It is. We found this really interesting YouTube video. This American expat, he's living in Dumaguete City.
Okay.
And he, get this, he actually legally changed his name to Goldfinger.
Wow.
I know, right? Talk about a conversation starter.
It's definitely a statement. But it kind of makes you think about, that idea of reinvention that a lot of people experience when they move to a new country. Like they're starting a whole new chapter.
Absolutely. And he seems to really be embracing it all. He's got this great sense of humor, kind of self-deprecating, especially when he talks about his experiences with Filipino food.
Oh, I love that. Food is such a great window into a culture.
It really is. And he even jokes about watching himself eat because he enjoys it so much.
That's hilarious.
It is. But it's funny because it kind of relates to this other little detail he mentioned, almost like a throwaway comment, but it really stuck with me.
Yeah.
He was talking about finding a 5 centavo coin on the street, which is like, what, practically worthless, right?
Right.
And a kid, like a young kid, refusing to even take it.
Wow. That's really interesting.
It is, right.
Mm.
And it got me thinking about, like, the cost of living, the value of money there compared to, say, here in the U.S.
That's such a great observation because it's so easy to overlook those little things, those small details, but they often reveal so much more than you'd expect about a culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that moving to a place like the Philippines, it's not just about beautiful beaches and, exotic food. It's about immersing yourself in a completely different way of life.
Absolutely. And being respectful of those differences.
Totally. Imagine arriving there, ready for paradise,
Hmm.
and then struggling with something as simple as, like, the ferry ticket system,
Oh, gosh.
or not having the right SIM card for your phone.
Those things can really trip you up.
Oh, for sure.
Eh.
And that's where Goldfinger, our expat extraordinaire, he actually wrote this ebook. He calls it Dumaguete for Dummies.
Dumaguete for Dummies. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I know, right?
Mhm.
And it's full of advice, like practical tips for anyone who's new to the Philippines, especially Dumaguete City.
That's so helpful. It's like having a local guide right in your pocket.
It is. And it made me realize how important it is to, like, do your research.
Definitely. Preparation is key, especially when you're moving to a new country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this ebook, Dumaguete for Dummies,
Mm-hmm.
sounds like it's full of really practical advice.
Oh, yeah, it covers a lot of ground.
Like what kind of things does he talk about?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was his whole section on visa rules.
Okay.
Because, obviously that's super important for anyone who's thinking about spending any significant time in a foreign country.
Oh, absolutely.
And he talks about this thing called a throwaway ticket.
A throwaway ticket. What is that?
So basically, it means booking a flight out of the Philippines, even if you have no intention of actually getting on that plane.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like a way to prove to immigration that you're not planning to overstay your initial visa.
Oh, I see. So it's like a strategy or a loophole or something.
Exactly. And it just highlights how important it is to really understand those visa regulations.
For sure.
Because they can be really tricky and they vary so much from country to country.
They really do. And I bet a lot of people don't even think about it until it's too late.
Right. And then he also goes into a lot of detail about the challenges of transferring money.
Oh, I bet that can be a nightmare.
Oh, it can be a huge headache, especially if you're not prepared.
Yeah, because you're dealing with different currencies and everything, too.
Exactly. And different banking systems, different regulations. It can be a lot.
So what does he recommend? How do you avoid those problems?
Well, one thing he stresses is the importance of keeping your U.S. phone number active.
Really? Even after you've moved to the Philippines?
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, right? But he says a lot of times banks and money transfer services,
Right.
they'll use your phone number for security verification,
Oh, that makes sense.
especially when you're making initial transactions from a new location. So if you need to move money quickly and your US number is disconnected, you could be in for a long and stressful process.
Wow. That is really good to know. I never would have thought of that.
It's a good reminder to think about all those little details.
It is. Did he have any other financial advice?
He did. He's a big proponent of having 2 valid passports.
2. Why 2?
Well, he points out that if you lose your only passport when you're in a foreign country, it can be a total nightmare to get back home.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Having that backup ensures you can still travel and, handle important affairs while you're waiting for a replacement.
That's really smart. I'm kind of surprised they don't tell you that more often.
I know, right?
It's one of those things that seems so obvious, but you don't really think about it until someone points it out.
Exactly.
This Goldfinger guy, he really has thought of everything.
He has. It's really impressive.
It's like he wrote the book on expat living, literally.
He really did, but, it's not all just practical tips and advice. What I really admire about him is his dedication to giving back to his adopted community.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about that part.
Yeah, he's very passionate about supporting local communities.
That's awesome.
And he found a really impactful way to do that through education.
Okay, so we were talking about Goldfinger
Mm-hmm.
and all of his awesome advice for expats in the Philippines, but then you mentioned he also gives back to the community.
Right.
What's the story there? How does he do that?
Well, he's really passionate about education.
Oh, okay.
And he visited this local school, and he was really struck by the state of their computer lab.
Oh, no. What was wrong with it?
It was pretty bad. Like, imagine a classroom of 40 kids all trying to share 25 ancient, tiny little tablets
Oh, wow.
that barely even function, and that was their computer lab.
Wow. That's really sad. It just goes to show you how important those resources are.
It really does.
Those kids are at such a disadvantage without them.
Absolutely. And it just highlights that digital divide that exists in so many parts of the world.
Yeah.
And Goldfinger being Goldfinger, he decided to do something about it.
So what did he do?
Well, he went all in. Like, he is in the process of getting them 25 brand new tablets, each one with a keyboard,
Wow.
and then a big screen smart TV for the teacher.
That's amazing.
Oh, and he even thought about all the little things, like getting them power strips and cable covers to make sure the setup is safe and organized.
Wow, he really thought of everything.
He did. He's incredible.
That's amazing. How is he paying for all of this?
It's a combination of his own money and then donations from other expats who heard about what he was doing and wanted to get involved.
Oh, that's so cool. So it's like a real community effort.
It really is.
That's fantastic. And is this like a one-time thing?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he planning to do this for other schools too?
Oh, he's already planning to do this for 2 schools every year.
Wow, that's incredible. This goes to show you what one person can accomplish.
I know, it's really inspiring.
It really is.
Hmm.
But, it makes you think about the long-term sustainability of something like this.
Right.
Like, how do you make sure those tablets are still being used effectively 5 years down the road?
That's such a good point. And it's something that Goldfinger has thought about, too.
Oh, okay.
He's not just focused on the donation itself, but on making sure it has a lasting impact.
So what's he doing to make that happen?
Well, he's working closely with the schools to provide technical support, like if something breaks down,
Okay.
and training for the teachers to make sure they know how to use all the equipment effectively.
That's really important.
It is. And he's also trying to get other expats to volunteer their time to help with maintenance and stuff like that.
That's fantastic. It sounds like he's really created a model for sustainable giving.
He really has.
It's not just about throwing money at a problem. It's about creating lasting change.
Exactly.
Wow. This whole deep dive has been so interesting.
It has.
We started out talking about this guy and his crazy name change and his tips for navigating expat life in the Philippines.
Right.
And now we're talking about bridging the digital divide and the power of education.
It just goes to show you never know where these deep dives will take us.
That's for sure. But it's a good reminder that we all have the power to make a difference in the world, no matter how small. So, what will your impact be?